Hello friends, and welcome back to this course titled as Introduction to Indian Writing in English, and doing a very interesting text, a very seminal text titled as Swami and Friends, written by a very famous writer R.K. Narayan. Friends, this title Swami and Friends is actually about the friendship dealings which Swami had. There are some nitty-gritties which are related to the life of a schoolboy, and we had seen them in detail in the last class when we discussed about irony and humor in this book Swami and Friends. We started discussion on Swami and Friends on the, let's say, note of prominence of R.K. Narayan. Then we talked about the British colonial rule, the colonial era, and the impact of British colonial era on the citizens of this small town named as Malgudi. This is a fictional town, not a real town. After that, we talked about the irony and humor with the help of various examples related to the dialogues, whether they are conversations between Swami and the cart boy Karuppan, or whether they are the conversations between Swami and his father when father gives some arithmetic calculations to solve to Swami, and Swami has some whims and fancies, his own virtual world, which he falls into in that situation. Or whether there are conversations where Swami plays the role of a mediator between Rajam and Mani. We had seen various aspects of irony and humor in the language created by R.K. Narayan in this book, Swami and Friends. Well, friends, in today's lecture, we will talk about a very serious theme into this book, Swami and Friends, and that theme is the evolution of self. Friends, there are various characters who try to evolve themselves, who try to come out from their immaturity, who try to come out from their innocence, who try to come out from their kiddiness, childishness. And we are going to look at all those characters, especially our protagonist, Swaminathan, in this lecture. But before beginning the evolution of self, let us talk about the outcome which you are going to learn from this lecture. You would be able to adapt the various modes of evolution as the various stages of characters' life. Friends, all of us live a very long life, having different stages in our change of character. When we are infant, our personality was different. When we started going to the school, our personality changed. Then we started going to the college. Again, there are some modifications of behavior, and then we start doing job, and then we marry to someone. And all these stages are considered as different stages of a person's life. So, you would be able to understand that how the evolution happens in these various stages of a person's personality. Let us try to start discussion on this evolution with the help of this book, Swami and Friends, which was published long back in 1935. But friends, if this book was published 80-90 years before, it doesn't mean that this book has no worth, has no use in the present scenario, in the present society, in the present culture. Although Malgudi is a fictional town of South India, but if you belong to North India, if you belong to any other part of India, even then you feel associated with the characters. You feel associated with the setting. You feel associated with the action which is happening and the circumstances which are created in those actions. Let us try to start discussion on this seminal text, Swami and Friends. Narayan's first novel is remarkable for his understanding of child psychology, for his depiction of buoyant world of schoolboys in a realistic and convincing manner. Friends, if you read this text, you will not believe that this was the first novel of R.K. Narayan. You may think that the writer must be a very matured, very evolved writer, but this is not the case. R.K. Narayan has shown his excellence on ideas, images and symbols, and his excellence on English language with the, let's say, notions which he has adapted and which he has presented in this novel, Swami and Friends. Another important aspect is the understanding of child psychology, how children used to think. Obviously, when Narayan wrote this text, he must be a matured person of 35 to 40 years of age. But then going back to one's childhood and thinking like a child, behaving like a child, writing dialogues like a child, how children talk to each other is a very tough task. Friends, you may feel that this is easy, but then when you start writing, that is the toughest part. Writing a novel, thinking about something is easy. Dreaming about something is easy. But writing about that thing, when you are what you have dreamed, what you have felt, is something which is very, very difficult. And R.K. Narayan was able to achieve that goal in his first novel, Swami and Friends, which is a very commendable task. About this book, Graham Greene wrote. Now, friends, Graham Greene was a very famous European writer. And if he is appreciating R.K. Narayan and his work, it means that there is some, let's say, something which exists in this book which had attracted the attention of the entire world. It was Mr. Narayan with his Swami and Friends who first brought India in the sense of the Indian population and the Indian way of life alive to me. That was the biggest contribution of R.K. Narayan to the world, friends. People in the world were unaware about the Indian way of thinking, about the Indian lifestyle, how Indians think. And with the help of this book, R.K. Narayan had successfully conveyed this message to the world that what he is, let's say, trying to awake, what he is trying to make alive in this book. Swami is the story of a child written with complete objectivity, with a humor strange to our fiction, closer to Chekhov than to any English writer. There was a writer, Anton Chekhov, and Graham Greene in this quotation is saying that the style of R.K. Narayan is somehow near to how Anton Chekhov used to write his short stories. So Graham Greene is here saying that R.K. Narayan has written this novel with complete objectivity. Friends, being objective is very tough because all of us had some preconceived notions in our mind. All of us had some whims and fancies, and we behave in a particular manner only, and that kind of, let's say, ideology is always visible in our writings. closer to Chekhov than any other English writer, with the same underlying sense of beauty and sadness. There is on one hand beauty in this work Swami and Friends. On the other hand, there is also sadness in this work Swami and Friends. And R.K. Narayan was able to make a balance between the two with the help of this book, Swami and Friends. A sixth grader means Swaminathan is in the sixth class. A sixth grader, his classmates, and their world of adventures and mischiefs is something which is, let's say, the crux of this book written by R.K. Narayan. How can a boy from sixth class, let's say, had his own world and he is representing the entire world in the microcosm which he has in this small town of Malgudi? Swaminathan, the young school student of sixth form, is the hero of this novel. Well, this is again surprising. How can a boy of sixth standard, of sixth grade, can be the hero of a novel? But R.K. Narayan was able to justify, was able to explain to an extent that yes, this experiment is also possible. A sixth class boy can also be a protagonist in a novel. His exploits in the school and at home form the basic plot of the novel. Whatever Swaminathan is doing, either in the school or at his house, all those activities, when clubbed together, took the shape of this novel, Swami and Friends. Somu, the class monitor; Mani, the mighty good for nothing. Mighty good for nothing means Mani is of no use. He was a useless person. Then we had another character who was Somu. Somu was a class monitor. Class monitor, it means the very important personality in the class. A person who is directly associated with the teachers, who can complain about any student to the teacher directly. Then Shankar, the most brilliant boy in the class. As obviously we have one boy in the class or one girl in the class who is always most intelligent. We have Shankar here. Samuel, the P, and Rajam, the son of the police superintendent, are his friends. This is the small world of Swami, where Rajam is the son of a superintendent. Then we have Samuel as a P, representing a P. Then we have Somu, Shankar, Mani, and with these limited number of people, Swami has his own world of representing, let's say, the entire universe. The entire novel deals with the mischief and fun made by these boys. Now these boys, they want to do some kind of fun. They want to do some kind of mischief because they are immature, they are innocent. They had their little space of adventures and they want to grab that complete space, and they want to understand that how they are living the world, how, let's say, they are understanding the world, how they are exploring the world with the help of this, let's say, the limited circle and the limited space of Malgudi. Humor of situation abounds in this novel. There is a lot of humor. In different situations, humor is being, let's say, conducted through the dialogues of various characters. The very first paragraph of the novel is rich in the humor of situation and character. Well, friends, in the beginning paragraph only, we have a lot of humor of situation and lot of humor of character. Let us read one extract from the text to understand this process of evolution? Well, friends, evolution might be a very heavy word for you, but in the novel, gradually all the characters evolve themselves. And why this evolution is happening? Because this is the universal truth that on one day you have to leave your innocence, on one day you have to be matured, on one day you have to know how much brutal this world is and how perfectly you can survive in this world. Let us read this extract and try to understand that how the process of evolution is started and is taking place between the lines of the novel Swami and Friends. It was Monday morning. Swaminathan was reluctant to open his eyes. He considered Monday specially unpleasant in the calendar. Friends, just like us. Suppose we, let's say, remember our childhood days. Monday was the toughest because we used to wake up late on Sundays. We used to enjoy Sundays. And same happens with us if we are doing job somewhere. After the holidays, it is tough to rejoin our duty. After the delicious freedom of Saturday and Sunday, it was difficult to get into the Monday and mood of work and discipline. Well, friends, all of us know that in the job also and in the school also, there is some work which we have to perform. There is some discipline which we have to follow, and who like that kind of restrictions. Same happens in the case of this character, our protagonist, Swaminathan. He shuddered the very thought of school, that dismal yellow building. The school building is very gloomy for Swami. It is a yellow color building which he do not like. The fire-eyed Vednagam, his class teacher, and the headmaster with his thin, long cane. Now these are the two characters who are very threatening for Swaminathan in the school. He has a class teacher and then he has a headmaster. And both, let's say, the people are portrayed in negative sense in the thought process of Swaminathan. Swaminathan do not like, neither he likes his class teacher nor he likes his headmaster, because both of them expects discipline, both of them expects a very, let's say, controlled behavior from the kids in the school. Another aspect which is related to this evolution is beyond childish pranks, a world full of curiosity and wisdom. Well, friends, this story, Swami and Friends, it is not only about some childish pranks. Pranks means some funny activities which children are doing, Swami and his friends are doing. But this story is also about curiosity. This story is also about wisdom. Well, friends, curiosity and wisdom, they are related to each other. The more you are curious, the more you will learn. And the more you will learn, the wisdom, the wiseness will come into your behavior. So in this way, I can say that the evolution of the personality comes from curiosity and it leads one character to wisdom. This is far more than simple narrative of Swami's adventures, charming and entertaining as they are. Well, just like any other kid, the activities which Swami is performing, they are adventurous, they are charming, they are entertaining. But for Swami, they are very serious because he is very innocent boy. And how he is behaving in those situations is just similar to any kid of his age. But the delicate use of detail sympathetically observed, the author establishes for the reader the child's world as the child himself sees it, and beyond the adult community he will one day belong to. Well, friends, Swami don't know that how he is going to behave in the adult age when he will become a man. But right now he is a kid and he is behaving like a kid only. So the behavior is quite naturally visible from his activities. In Swami's case, the town of Malgudi, which provides the setting of almost all Narayan's later novels. Well, if we talk about the case of Swaminathan, and if we talk about this town of Malgudi, which provides the setting of almost all Narayan's later novels, we will understand that this setting of Malgudi is somewhere lying deep core into the heart of the author R.K. Narayan, and R.K. Narayan is able to, let's say, create the world of Swaminathan, but that is also the world of R.K. Narayan. Swaminathan reaches the class in time, and we are introduced to the fire-eyed Ved Nayagam, the class teacher and also the arithmetic teacher. Well, friends, the fire-eyed class teacher, fire-eyed means this teacher, this class teacher is always angry from the students. This class teacher is a mathematics teacher. He teaches arithmetics to these students. And he is never, let's say, happy, never smiling. He has always some questions to ask from the students. Those questions might be tough. Students cannot answer. And which is why the students, all the students in the class, including the friends of Swami and Swaminathan himself, all of them are afraid of their class teacher. Swami does not like him. When the teacher was scrutinizing the home exercises, Swaminathan began to think about the teacher's face. Well, friends, such kind of arithmetic teachers, they have always long and tough questions to ask from the students. And when they are teaching in the class, when they are checking the homeworks or home exercises of the students, Swaminathan is looking at the teacher. And as I told you, that Swaminathan has some, let's say, virtual world in which he lost various times in the novel. Same happens in this scene, and let us try to understand that how much creativity Swaminathan's mind can create about his teacher and about this situation. And I quote from the text itself. While the teacher was scrutinizing the sums, Swaminathan was gazing on his face, which seemed so tame at close quarters. His criticism of the teacher's face was that his eyes were too near each other, that there was more hair on his chin than one saw from the bench, and that he was very bad looking. Well, Swaminathan was, let's say, converting the teacher's facial expressions to a cartoon. He is creating a very bizarre looks, a very unusual looks on the mind of the teacher. But all these things are done only in the mind of Swaminathan. His reverie was disturbed. He felt a terrible pain in the soft flesh above his left elbow. The teacher was pinching him with one hand and with the other crossing out all the sums. The teacher is punishing Swaminathan because Swaminathan was not able to answer the questions. So teacher is pinching Swaminathan, and Swaminathan is, let's say, filled with pain. He wrote very bad at the bottom of the page, flung the notebook in Swaminathan's face and drove him back to his seat. The teacher, when he asked Swaminathan to come near him, he wrote very bad in the copy of Swaminathan, and then he thrown the copy on Swaminathan's face, and then he asked Swaminathan to go back to his seat and sit there. Now friends, this is a situation which all of us might have faced in our school days, and we feel offended, we feel disturbed, we feel humiliated in front of our classmates in such kind of situations. So, such kind of situations helped in the evolvement of Swaminathan's personality in the novel. The whole episode is highly amusing and another tribute to R.K. Narayan's knowledge and understanding of children's world. When we read such kind of lines, we understand that how much minute details can be captured by R.K. Narayan into his writing. And thus we understand that he is a very proficient and very skilled writer. The boy waited eagerly for days together. But there was no response, no bats, balls, or stumps. Well, this is another scene, friends, when the boys ordered the bat, ball, etc. They wanted to create a cricket club, but they did not receive anything from the city and they were feeling offended. And in this process, the evolution into their personality was taking place. Rajam made 3 bats out of the bottom of the dead wood case, and also obtained 3 old tennis balls from his father's club. Now, friends, Rajam was a person who had facilities, who was a rich guy, but that was not the case with Mani or Swami. Rajam was able to manage 3 bats and he was also able to manage balls, 3 balls from the, let's say, father's club. His father used to play tennis. So in this way, he had all the facilities, he had all the, let's say, required things to play cricket, but that was not the case with his friends. A patch of ground adjacent to Rajam's house was to be used as a field. Now all the boys, all the friends of Rajan, including Swaminathan, they make a pitch also where they can throw the ball, where the batsman can run. So they select a place which is near to the house of Rajam. P promised to bring the stumps but could not even after a long search. There was a boy, I told you, he was called by every one of them as P. So he promised that he will bring few stumps, but he was not able to manage. Maybe he belonged to a very, let's say, a very poor family. A part of the wall of Rajam's house was marked as the stumps, and so they began to play. Now ultimately boys has to play, they had no choice. So what did they do? They draw 3 stumps on a wall of Rajam's house and they started playing. The rest of the novel deals with cricket practice and the match which was played and lost. Now they started playing, and in this process of playing cricket, friends, we can understand that the evolution of the personalities of Swaminathan and his friends is taking place. Because cricket is a game which is related to maturity. Cricket is a game which is related to the evolution of personality. Cricket is a game which Britishers used to play. And when these boys are playing cricket, they are assuming that they are powerful just like Britishers in their community. Swami had to be absent in the drill class for which he gave various excuses. When everything is arranged and Swami has to join the game, he was not able to come. He had various excuses, but those excuses were, let's say, not accepted by Rajam, because Rajam was the one who arranged the bat and ball, and he has to dominate the game because he has all the accessories to play cricket. So Swami was giving various excuses to Rajam, but Rajam was not, let's say, in a mood to listen all those things. When the headmaster exposes him and punishes him, Swami runs away to Madras but collapses on the outskirts of Malgudi. There is one more incident, friends, in the novel. In that incident, the headmaster of the school of Swaminathan, he exposes Swaminathan and he punishes Swaminathan. Swami feels so much, let's say, offended from let's say, that situation that he runs away to Madras. He wanted to leave Malgudi. He wanted to go to Madras. Madras was a very, very big city for a child. But he collapses on the outskirts of Malgudi. Somewhere out his village, he collapses on the ground because he had no money. He had no knowledge. How can he leave the, let's say, his house? How can he leave his place? How can he leave his school and go to Madras? He had no choice. He was in the condition of dilemma. There was a complete confusion in his mind. He don't know what to do. This is followed by prayers and offerings to gods. But if they descend from their heights and rescues him, finally Swami returns home. Well, friends, as all of us know, that we as Indians are believers of God. We are spiritual in our nature. We are religious in our nature. And which is why if we feel a situation of criticality, we start praying and we start, let's say, giving offerings to God. Swaminathan did the similar kind of, let's say, behavior. He, let's say, when fall down on the ground, he started praying and thinking of giving offerings to God if they descend from their height and rescue him. Swami wanted God, let's say various gods, to save him in this situation from this dilemma that whether he should leave Malgudi and should go to Madras. He had no choice. He was an innocent boy. He had no exposure to the world. What is he going to do in Madras? How he is going to survive in Madras? All these questions were coming in the mind of Swaminathan, and he had no solutions. And when, friends, you don't have a solution, you think about God. You expect that God is going to give these solutions to you. And finally, Swami returns home. That was the wisest decision a person can do, a boy can do. And Swaminathan did the same act. Well, friends, when we talk about all these examples, let's say Swaminathan is thinking about his arithmetics class teacher when that class teacher is punishing him, or when Swaminathan is giving arguments, when he is not able to attend the drill class of cricket, or Swaminathan and his friends are waiting for the cricket kit which they had ordered but which is not coming from the city, or when Swaminathan is offended in, let's say, a situation and he wants to leave Malgudi, he starts hating Malgudi and he wants to go to Madras, but after some time he returns back to home. All these examples suggest that there is some kind of evolution, there is some kind of personality change, there is some kind of mental change or maturity which is coming in the personality of Swaminathan. And thus we can say that there is evolution of self, understanding of self, thinking of self, perceiving your, let's say, inner characteristics is a process which is taking place in the mind of Swaminathan. And in this way we can say that this change of personality makes Swaminathan the protagonist of our story. Friends, if you know that stories had protagonists and antagonists. Now, how can we differentiate between protagonists and antagonists? Antagonists means the villain. In every story, the character whom we consider antagonist is a person who resists to change, who do not want to change, because that person thinks that I am perfect. I do not need anyone's advice. And that antagonist also falls into various circumstances, into various situations. But that antagonists do not want to learn from those situations. On the other hand, when we talk about protagonist, protagonist is a person who is adaptable to change. Protagonist is a person who love to, let's say, modify his personality, who learn from circumstances, who learn from situations, who learn from other characters, the, let's say, problems which other characters face in the story. And thus there is a evolution of personality, transformation of personality, complete change in the personality which happens in the, let's say, character of protagonist. And this is the basic difference between protagonist and antagonist. On the basis of all these examples from the novel Swami and Friends, we are able to understand that Swami, in true sense, is a protagonist. And this is the place which no other character in the novel can, let's say, take or capture from Swaminathan. So with this, I end this lecture, and I hope that you have understood that why we consider Swaminathan as the protagonist of this novel, Swami and Friends. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much.